Today, I'm back with another mega movie haul for you all. And today, I'm showing off my entire boutique labels collection. Yes, all the physical media titles that I have that are considered a boutique label, I'm going to be showing off today. So, how this is going to work, I'm just going to pull up the title, say a little bit about the film, and then move on because we've got a massive movie collection to get through. So, let's get started. First boutique label up is gonna be Criterion, and so I got 12 Angry Men, which is a classic staple in any collection, all-star cast, very entertaining for using a limited setting. Alright, next up, we got Arsenic and Old Lace, which is a great spooky comedy with Cary Grant in there, perfect for October. Alright, next up, we got a collection of movies, and that is going to be the Before trilogy, which all three movies are great, excellent romance movies. You get Ethan Hawke in there, so they're great to kind of watch back and back, all three together. They just work so well. Alright, next up, we got Blowout. This is the 4K version. You get a young John Travolta in there, a thriller mystery of sorts. It's fantastic. All right, next we got Bringing Up Baby, which you get Grant and Katharine Hepburn, and this is a romantic comedy, very classic one, but the humor still keeps up to this day, so this is a good time. All right, next up we got Devil in a Blue Dress, which is a Denzel Washington movie, basically a noir detective style story, which is quite enjoyable. All right, next up, we got Fast Times at Ridgemont High, probably my most watched Criterion because I love the raunchy comedies. This is just a perfect one from the 80s. You even get a Sean Penn Espicoli in there. I mean, you can't go wrong with this movie. Fast Times is just great. All right, next up, we got The Game, which is a great kind of mystery thriller that's very trippy throughout the movie, but does come together by the end, so this is an enjoyable one. All right, next up, we got The Graduate. You get a young Dustin Hoffman, Mrs. Robinson in there. Yeah, definitely a great coming of age story as well. All right, next up, we got an awesome movie, Dazed and Confused. If you like kind of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, this is kind of a similar style, but more like 90s or so ish. But really great movie, and this packaging is absolutely fantastic. All right, next up we got Double Indemnity, another classic black and white film, but this one is great. It very reminds me of like a Hitchcock style mystery, and so yeah, really entertaining if you're into those thrillers. All right, next up we got an awesome comedy, classic one. It's a mad, 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 mad world. If you've seen Rat Race, that was like the remake of this one, but this has an all-star cast, like all the comedians during this time. It's fantastic, really, really good. All right, next up we got Malcolm X, which is a great kind of historical piece movie. You get Denzel Washington in here, who does a great job as Malcolm X, basically playing him at different parts of his life, and it really goes through a lot of different performances just within that one character. So if you like historical movies, definitely want to check out Malcolm X. All right, next up, we got Menace to Society. So if you kind of like the street level type of movies, definitely some very dark drama in here. I mean, some moments you're just going to be jaw dropped, shocked on what just happened. So Menace to Society, very good, and I love the packaging from Criterion on that one. All right, next up we got Mulholland Drive, which I can probably never watch again because I watched it twice. Still don't get this movie. Just very trippy, just like tons of scenes just sewn together. I don't know what it's trying to be, but it confused me. All right, next up we got Night of the Living Dead for those that love the classic horror movies. I mean, this is one of the greatest zombie movies of all time. It's fantastic, especially what they're able to do on such a low budget. All right, next up we got On the Waterfront, which is another classic movie starring Marlon Brando. And if you kind of like those, mob style movies, you're gonna like this one. He could have been a contender, right? Excellent movie. All right, next up we got Pan's Labyrinth, which is a Guillermo del Toro movie, foreign language film, but the fantasy elements in here are great with all the creature designs. just really stunning in some scenes. All right, next up we got The Princess Bride, which I just love the book packaging on this. It just looks so cool. And this is a great movie. I mean, great family adventure movie. So many quotable lines. So you got to have The Princess Bride. All right, next we got Punch Drunk Love, which is a Adam Sandler movie, but more of a dramatic performance. Basically, a dark comedy here, and I do enjoy this one, but it is quite trippy as well. All right, next we got Raging Bull, a young Robert De Niro in here. It's a Martin Scorsese film, filmed in black and white, so very stylistic, and you just kind of see a downward spiral of this character. All right, next up we got Shaft. And this movie is awesome. You get actually Shaft's big score in here as well. So you get basically two movies for the price of one. And just the Shaft song is excellent and great if you like those detective action movies. All right, next up, we got one I kind of regretted getting, and that's The Seventh Seal. It's a foreign language film by Ingmar Bergman. Just not my kind of style of movie, but I know some people really like this one. I'm just probably never going to watch it again. All right, next up is gonna be Wall-E, the 4K version. I really love this movie. I think the packaging is cool. I enjoy all the special features they packed into this one. So really enjoyable movie from Pixar. Next boutique label up is gonna be Arrow Video, and of course I got An American Werewolf in London on 4K. Awesome art design and packaging here. It's such a great horror movie. All right, next up, we got Django, that Western, and it is a foreign language film. I thought it started off a little slow, but then it picks up and gets really cool action packed in some scenes. So overall, I enjoy it. All right, next up, we got Flash, Master of the Universe. Flash Gordon, who doesn't love this one? Great 80s cheesy sci-fi entertainment. I can actually rewatch this one a whole bunch of times. It's so good. All right, next up we got Flatliners. I love the slipcover with this one. That's pretty cool. I like the idea for this movie, probably more than the execution of it, but it has some amazing cast members in here. I mean, you get a young Julia Roberts and all that good stuff. All right, next up we got Pitch Black. Gotta have a little Vin Diesel in your collection. Another movie I like the initial premise for, but I don't know if it's executed the best. All right, next up, a movie that's beloved, that's just executed perfectly. RoboCop, part man, part machine, all cop. Really like this movie. I love the steelbook too. Has a nice shine. All right, next up, probably my favorite Arrow Video title here, and that is going to be True Romance. All-star cast. It's written by Quentin Tarantino, so it's just an awesome movie. The writing is just perfect here. But I love the packaging. Get a ton of goodies in this one. All right, next up, another great packaging one is going to be a Wild Things. Yeah, you get some Nev Campbell action in there. And wow, I was shocked when I saw this movie for the first time. Just a great kind of thriller mystery that keeps twisting and turning every way through. Oh, so good of a movie. All right, next up, getting into my one Vinegar Syndrome title, and that is going to be Drop Dead Fred. Really good movie. I enjoy this one. Very funny in some scenes. And you get Phoebe Cates in there. What's not to like? All right, next we got getting into my Warner Brother Archive collection, and that's going to be my Alfred Hitchcock collection here. You get The Wrong Man, Dial M for Murder, I Confess, and Suspicion. I think these are all solid movies, especially the top three there. Suspicion, ooh, that is one of my favorite Hitchcock titles of all time. If you haven't seen that one, you're a Hitchcock fan, check out Suspicion. Very, very good and underrated. All right, next up, we got the classic King Kong. This movie was great for its time, just to kind of see all the effects work with King Kong. Now, of course, it does look a little cheesy to today's standards, but putting yourself into that time period, this one was awesome. Can't go wrong with King Kong. All right, next up, a movie that's terrible in any kind of time, and that's going to be Supergirl. Wow, yeah. I wanted this one to be better than what it was. It started off okay. It was promising at the beginning, but then it kind of just falls off the rail. And I'm like, okay, where are we going with this, Supergirl? What's happening right now? All right, now to get into my Mill Creek collection here. And we got them Gold Diggers. Wait, did they really name that movie that? Okay, this is supposed to be a family movie, everybody. It's a family adventure tale, but I did quite enjoy this one. All right, next up, that is probably not as family. It's going to be that side out action. If you like competitive beach volleyball, you got a movie perfect just for you. All right, next up, we got Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, a Sylvester Stallone title. That's like a, I don't know, a buddy cop comedy with his, Golden Girl. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it was a little entertaining. I'll give it that. All right, then I got a double pack from Mill Creek, which comes with the Adjustment Bureau and the Good Shepherd. I think the Adjustment Bureau is very underrated. It's one of my favorite sci-fi romance kind of style movies of all time. It's excellent. Got Matt Damon, Emily Blunt. Got to check that one out if you have not seen it. The Good Shepherd, I didn't really care for. Kind of found it very long and dull. But Adjustment Bureau, worth it just for that. All right, next up, getting into Vestron Video Label, and I got Extreme Prejudice. The cover does look pretty cool. It's like a action western kind of movie. I didn't love the movie, but Vestron Video is so cheap, why not? All right, next up we got Earth Girls Are Easy. I know a lot of people love this one. You get Gina Davis, Jeff Goldblum, Jim Carrey, Damon Wayans. I mean, all-star cast here. Kind of fun to see how they look as alien form too. But it was just okay for me. All right, next up, we got Little Monsters without the slipcover. I know. I didn't know about Vestron Video was supposed to come with slipcovers. I just saw this in a Walmart one day, picked it up, and this movie kind of terrified me. You get the Savage Brothers in there, you get Howie Mandel, but I don't know, those monsters just kind of creep me out for some reason. But yeah, I know a lot of people like Little Monsters. All right, next up, we got Silent Night, Deadly Night Collection. You get 3, 4, and 5 in here. I only watched the third one so far, and that was pretty bad. So hopefully 4 and 5 are a lot better. I know people tell me they are a lot better, so I can't wait to check those one out. But this slip cover, I love that design there. Just looks super, super cool with the ornament right there. Very, very nice. All right, next up, we got the Wishmaster collection, and I really like the first two Wishmaster movies. If you're into horror comedy, I think you'll enjoy them. Uh, Third and fourth, I don't really care for because they changed the actor for the Wishmaster. All right, next up, we got The Wraith, which is another kind of sci-fi cheesy movie, but I enjoy this one for what it is, and the slipcover is so nice and shiny. All right, next up, we're getting the Kino Lorber label now. And so we got The Apartment, which is a great movie. I really enjoy this one. A lot of people consider it like a holiday movie as well because it does take place during that time, but it does deal with some kind of dark themes in there. But really, really good movie. All right, next up, we got Career Opportunities, one of my favorite comedy movies of all time. You get Jennifer Connelly on there on the little horse. It's fantastic. You got to check this movie out. And it's written by John Hughes. So it's golden. All right, next up, we got The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, my favorite Western movie of all time, of course, starring Clint Eastwood. I mean, you got the epic music in there, of course, in the final showdown. So, so good. All right, next up, we got The Good Son, which is a darker story. You get Macaulay Culkin in there and Elijah Woods, and it is kind of a very atmospheric movie. Very entertaining. If you're like a horror thriller fan, I think you will enjoy this one. All right, next up we got The Great Escape, which is awesome movie, which actually won the Kino Lorber Award in the Meggies, my physical media award show, for last year. So this is a really, really great movie. If you like kind of escape plot movies, trying to break out of something, this movie does it really well. Of course, tying in the war elements too. I really enjoyed this one. All right, next up, we got Killer's Kiss, which is a Stanley Kubrick film, and it's a very short movie. It's like an hour-ish. I didn't really care for this one, just wasn't my cup of tea, but it was cheap enough when I got it, and the cover looked kind of cool. All right. Next up, we got a movie everybody loves. You got Silence of the Lambs, of course, a Best Picture winner. Awesome that a horror genre movie was able to do it. But I consider it more actually thriller mystery than horror. But you get some amazing performances in here, of course. I mean, Hannibal Lecter is just so terrifying. in this movie. So, great movie, definitely, and you got a twist in there. It's fantastic, absolutely. All right. Next up, we got Love Slaves of the Amazons. I thought this movie was going to be awesome. It was pretty bad. It was like they were trying to do Indiana Jones type of movie, but they didn't have the budget for it. And so you got this kind of movie which just falls flat, in my opinion. All right, next up we got one of the best movies. So good. We got Mystery Men. I mean, look at that cover. That cover is absolutely amazing. But this is a great movie. It's so entertaining. You got Ben Stiller in there and an awesome cast all around. But if you love superhero movies, you love spoof movies, this movie is hilarious. Makes me laugh every time. Very entertaining. I can rewatch this one all the time. It is so good. All right, next up, we got another great comedy here, and that is going to be Tropic Thunder with another all-star cast. I mean, you get Robert Downey Jr. in there, Ben Stiller again. You get Jack Black in here. Such a funny movie. It will make you laugh so hard, and I love the slipcover for it. So Keenan Lorber did a great job on that. And then one restaurant video I almost left out because it was in my new pile collection is the Dentist collection, the Dentist 1 and 2. If you like cheesy horror movies, you'll enjoy this one. Actually, some of the practical mouth effect work is quite good for the budget they were on in these movies, so I will take it. Next, getting to the Paramount Presents line, and we got the 4K The War of the Worlds, which I really enjoy that movie. If you love sci-fi movies, gotta check that classic one out. And then also When Worlds Collide came in this as well, but that one's on a Blu-ray. I quite enjoyed that one too. I thought that was an interesting premise, so I enjoyed both those. All right, next up we got To Catch a Thief, which is a great movie. You got Cary Grant in here. This is a Hitchcock title, so if you like Hitchcock movies, gotta check this one out. But I would say it's more mid-tier Hitchcock, but mid-tier Hitchcock is still a good movie. All right, next up we got Ordinary People, which was a Best Picture winner. I know some people really like this one. I did not care for it. Only watched it one time though. Probably have to give it another rewatch. All right, next up, we got a movie I do really like that one Best Picture, and that is Greatest Show. Yeah, The Greatest Show. This one is really good. You get Jimmy Stewart in here as a clown, but the circus elements are fantastic. Just all the animals they were able to do, all the stunts, and everything was really cool, especially for the time period to really pull that off. Quite enjoyable movie, great characters, great story, just great spectacle. The train sequence, fantastic, really great movie. I think it's very underrated. All right, next up, we got The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Got Jimmy Stewart again. You also got John Wayne in here. This is, I believe, a John Ford directed movie, black and white style. But I really like this one. For Western movies that aren't my favorite genre, this is probably one of the ones I enjoy a little bit more. I mean, Jimmy Stewart's just so good in here. All right, next up, we got a movie that is not so good, and this is now getting into my MVD Rewind collection, and that is going to be The Return of Swamp Thing, and oh my gosh, just no, just no on this one. Yeah, that one. I'm a superhero collector, so I gotta collect those kinds of movies, but am I gonna go rewatch it anytime soon? Probably not. All right, next up we got Disturbing Behavior, which is a really good movie. Kind of reminded me of The Faculty a little bit. So if you like that style of movie, I think you'll actually quite enjoy this one. So definitely a really good like kind of 90s style horror movie. All right, next up we got that Canadian Bacon. If you want to see some more John Candy, gotta check out Canadian Bacon. Now, I didn't think this movie was great. I didn't think it was hilarious. I really wasn't laughing too much with this one. But once again, it's John Candy, so had to add it to the collection when it was on sale. All right, next up we got Bright Lights, Big City, a Michael J. Fox movie. That's more of kind of a dramatic role here, and I enjoyed this one for what it was. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it was decent. All right, next up we got Drive, which is like an action movie. I don't know, this one wasn't doing it for me. I did not really care about this one at all. All right, next up we got The House on Sorority Row, which is actually pretty decent. Once again, if you like old school 80s kind of horror style movies, I enjoyed this one for what it was. All right, next up, we got Nemesis, and I know some people really like this one. I thought it was awful. I couldn't get with this one. Just how it was filmed just felt very like really low budget, made for TV kind of movie, and I was not feeling this one. So probably not gonna go back and rewatch that one. So glad I got that on sale. All right, next up, we got an awesome movie, in my opinion, and that's Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage. Gets me excited for the Renfield movie that's going to be coming out this year. Just Nicolas Cage being weird, wacky as a vampire is just hilarious. His expressions are like, oh my goodness. Very fun movie to me. It's just like dark comedy vampire style. I will take that every day. All right, next up, oh, a movie I love, probably my favorite out of the MVD Rewind collection. So good. And that is going to be Showdown. Great entertaining movie. Yes, it's a Karate Kid ripoff, but it's still a good movie. I will take that all day. You basically got the Karate Kid style, but with, I guess, UFC kind of fighting, right? You know, mixed martial arts and all that great stuff. I love the fighting choreography in here, though. It's very fun, some cheesy moments, but the acting is really enjoyable. I just was digging this movie. I don't know what it was, but I was just really feeling this movie when I was watching it. So, very entertained by that one. Now to get into my Shout Factory boutique label, and we're going to start with American Me. Once again, if you like street level kind of movies, those crime sort of dramas, just a little bit, go ahead and check this one out. It's pretty solid. All right, next up we got The Burbs, Tom Hanks, dark comedy movie, very entertaining, great for spooky season. All right, next up we got The Core. I like disaster movies, so yeah, some parts are outrageous in here, but I actually quite enjoy this one. All right, next up we got Liar Liar, Jim Carrey, one of my favorite comedies of all time. All this movie is so funny, great moments. All right, next up we got Mac and Me, which I think is very underrated. It's not great, but I still think it's a fun family movie. Sure, is it on the ET level? No, definitely not. But there's some decent stuff in here. I think the aliens kind of look entertaining, and then the dance scene in the McDonald's. How can you go wrong with that? All right, next up we got Private School. If you like raunchy comedies and Phoebe Cates, this is the movie for you. Very entertaining, makes me laugh every time. All right, next up we got a more serious movie. We got Platoon, which is awesome. If you like war movies, really great performances in here. You even get Willem Dafoe, just really powerful stuff. All right, next up we got a steelbook from Shout Factory, and that is going to be the original Red Dawn. Great cast all around in here. I mean, you get Charlie Sheen in there and a lot of other memorable actors, but really cool movie. And the opening is just, oh my goodness, just very shocking. But great to see how they fight back. All right, next we got some Leica films here, and we're gonna have Coraline slipcover. Great creepy movie, perfect for the spooky season. Great stop motion animation. All right, speaking of great stop motion animation, perfect for the spooky season. Got Paranorman. I really like this movie. I think the themes and messages are great, and just a very entertaining time. And you get some horror references in there, which are just awesome. Now to get into the Scream Factory label, my biggest probably out of all the labels I have, I'm going to go with Alligator, which is a fun creature feature, but totally worth this disc because you can get to see that Bryan Cranston interview, which is just fantastic. All right, next up we got such a great release that actually won Best Scream Factory Physical Media at the Meggies, the best physical media award show, of course. And that goes to Army of Darkness. You get all the different cuts of the movie, which is absolutely amazing. There's like 4 different versions of this one, and it's just a very entertaining movie. It's probably my favorite out of the Evil Dead franchise. Just that fantasy adventure element is excellent. All right, next up we got the remake of Evil Dead, which this was a pretty lackluster release, but this movie is so good. One of the best horror remakes of all time. I mean, you get buckets of blood just raining down upon you. Yeah, if you like horror movies, gotta love that new Evil Dead. All right, next up we got Black Christmas, which a lot of people love this movie because it kind of kicked off that slasher genre in a way in the 70s. Uh, I'm not a massive fan of this one. I think it was a little bit slow. I didn't love the characters, but I know a lot of people really like this one. But yeah, there we go. How to add it to the collection. All right, next up, we got a nice steelbook here, actually, and that is for My Bloody Valentine. Such a cool looking steelbook. Only a Blu-ray on this one, but I mean, if you're going for a Valentine's Day horror style movie, well, there you go, My Bloody Valentine. All right, next up, we got Candyman. Yes, you don't want to say his name too many times. I really like this movie, actually. The villain is just perfect in here. Some of the scenes with like the bees and everything is just super, super terrifying. So, really like this one. All right, next up, we got a collection here, and that's going to be the Critters collection. Yeah, kind of a ripoff of the Gremlins, but I think the Critters are so cool looking. The puppetry work in these movies are absolutely amazing, and you get Billy Zane in one of the Critter movies. You get Leonardo DiCaprio's first performance here. So, I mean, just fun, fun movies. If you're a horror fan, you like the horror cheese comedy, can't go wrong with the Critters. The first two, I think, are quite good. All right, next up, we got Deadly Friend, which is a Wes Craven film. You know, when AI goes bad, basically, with a killer robot. Yeah. To me, if you like that style of horror movie, you're gonna like this one. Pretty entertaining. All right, next up, got Death Becomes Here. Great cast. You got Bruce Willis in a different kind of role. You got Goldie Hawn. You got Meryl Streep. Dark comedy and some amazing visual effect work for the time. Really cool. All right, next up, we got Escape from New York, John Carpenter title. If you like his style movies, you're going to like this one. So, yeah, really, really cool. All right, next up, we got Firestarter, the original Firestarter with little Drew Barrymore. I like this movie. I think it's quite entertaining, actually. You know, Stephen King movies are often pretty decent. So I definitely prefer this one over the remake. All right, next up, we have another collection, and that is going to be the Fly collection. And while so many Fly movies, I think the original is good. I love the remake. I think the remake's amazing. Of course, with Jeff Goldblum, just fantastic. Second one actually is not too bad after the original, but then it goes black and white, which is kind of weird. Third one, no, just terrible. And then the sequel to the remake one, just not a fan of that one. But there's some gems in here. All right, next up, another John Carpenter title, and that is going to be The Fog. I don't love this movie. It's just kind of like a spooky ghost tale. Almost reminds you of like a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of story, but not as much like a swashbuckling action adventure there. More just straight up horror. So yeah, The Fog, decent little ghost story. All right, next we got The Fun House, and I really like the opening to this one. Yeah, once again, kind of lower budget horror movie if you enjoy that style. All right, next we got, of course, we got to get into these movies, which is going to be Halloween 2. Actually, one of my least favorite Halloween movies. I know a lot of people love it. I just find Hospitals kind of boring. I don't know why. All right, next up. Oh, look at this big pile. All right, we got Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, one of the best Halloween tales. I mean, look at all the costumes there, and that artwork is just super, super cool. And the song. The song is the best. I'm not going to sing it right now, but you know what I'm talking about. It's amazing. And it kind of reminds me of just like a sci fi horror. And you got the main actors kind of like suave, like James Bond. So I enjoy this one. All right. Next up is going to be Halloween 4, you know, return to the formula of the first Halloween, so quite good as well. All right, next up, we got Halloween 5, which I enjoy more than most people. I think it's pretty decent, actually. I think Donald Pleasance does a really good job in here. All right, next, we got the later Halloween collection of movies. Got 95 through 2002, which means you get The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween H2O, and Resurrection. Of course, Halloween H2O is one of the best movies of all time. Curse of Michael Myers, ugh, I really don't like that one. Halloween Resurrection is just kind of dumb, goofy fun. Alright, next up, we got The Howling, which is one of the best werewolf movies out there. Next up, we got The King Kong from the 70s, so this one's actually pretty good as well. Next up, we got Krampus, the Naughty Cut edition, and I really like this movie. I wish they would have done a sequel to it. I think it's a fun time. All right, next we got the DVD of Motel Hell. I know a lot of people like this one. I thought it was pretty decent. All right, next we got another collection. This is the Omen collection. I really like the first one. I think the second one's pretty decent as well, becoming a slasher movie. Third one's okay. Fourth, not so much. And the remake is just like shot for shot. So why do that one? But yeah, I love the artwork on here. It's just really, really cool. All right, next up, we got another John Carpenter title with The Prince of Darkness. Very underrated Carpenter title, in my opinion. I love the aspect of just mixing like horror and religion elements and just like the school of thought on that. Find it very, very interesting. So, really like this movie, and some of the effect work is pretty cool too. All right, next up, we got Serial Mom, which is an interesting one. Definitely horror comedy if you like that style. All right, next we got one everybody loves, and that's Sleepaway Camp. And of course, the ending is just like jaw dropping. What is going on right now? So, all right, next we got an interesting one from Scream Factory, and that's going to be The Sword and the Sorcerer. I mean, you got flying swords, which is just outrageous. Fantasy adventure title. Can have some fun with this one, absolutely. All right, another Carpenter title, actually one of my favorite Carpenter ones, is going to be They Live. Totally like sci-fi, thriller, horror, action. I mean, it has almost everything in there, but I love the way the aliens look in this movie. Rodney Piper in there, some great throwdown scenes, some awesome lines with chewing bubblegum. Can't go wrong with They Live. Very, very good. All right, and then of course to finish it off, a big collection here. I know this is a lot of people's favorite, and that of course is going to be the Friday the 13th collection. I just think these movies are awesome, having them all together. You even get Freddy versus Jason in there, which is just so good. You get the remake as well, so this is just an awesome set all around. Just super cool. So leave in the comments below, what did you think of my boutique labels collection, and do you have any titles that you'd recommend that I should pick up to add to my collection? And if you love collecting physical media just like me and being a part of this amazing league of mega film fans, make sure you subscribe right now. That way you stay entertained and up to date on all the latest physical media topics. And if you enjoyed this physical media topic, click another one to see more. Also, like the video, and this is Mega Mike the Movie Man reminding you to make every day a movie day.